Welcome back to Snake Eater. So yeah, we're still infiltrating Krasnygrad.
You know, you need to get more in your diet rather than just snakes.
Well, Shiroi, okay, by all means, well, Shiroi, consider, what is the best diet for when you're in the jungle then, Shiroi, since you seem to be an expert, apparently?
Do you prefer rabbits? We got those.
Yeah, we got European rabbits.
I mean, there's probably fruit, whether you should eat it or not. I'm not too sure, but
also to dig back up the corpse of an old meme. According to Bear Grylls, drinking your own piss might help.
There's well, sure, okay. So the fruits, okay, that takes care of the vitamins. But what about where we got the protein?
A corpse.
I don't know. You figure it out.
Usually bugs. That one I actually do know.
Yeah, bugs are actually pretty nutritious.
I actually saw a episode of a science show called Brainiac, where someone actually did drink their own piss, but they had to filter it to hell, and it still tasted horrible.
In the meantime, just to answer something you said 2 parts ago, that's the sad part too. Like when it comes to the whole part of Raiden rescuing Olga's child that we have yet to see, we were going to get a Rising sequel as soon as the first one, but Platinum wasn't interested at the time. That's one of the things that really still baffles me to this way. Like, how do you even refuse that? Like, it's just
to give it. I'm gonna be the devil's advocate and again say that while the game actually was positively received back then, it wasn't that much, and it had its fair share of detractors, which, as I hinted at, were not particularly. Actually, were fearing that the Metal Gear series was devolving into a parody of itself.
Whatever.
Again, Pedro, just because I don't agree with them, I
sure.
deny their
existence. I'm agreeing with you. Go on.
If I may, I would sooner pin the reason they weren't eager to do it again, probably more to do with the development process of that game. Now, granted, while Revengeance did turn out to be a good game, it has a What Happened episode for a reason.
Sure.
Still,
developing that game was kind of messy.
There's also the fact that... Sorry, go on.
Developing that game was apparently a bit of a mess, you know. They didn't always see eye to eye with Kojima's vision, which is what eventually led to, you know, them kind of sauntering off, doing their own thing. Like, remember, Revengeance was supposed to be, like, a completely, totally different beast when Kojima was in charge of it, but, you know, stuff wasn't being seen eye to eye.
Apparently, was not deemed compatible with this vision.
And apparently, Kojima's a great dev, but he definitely has a lane of sorts. Hack and slash games, I'm guessing, were not really in his lane.
No. That's the whole reason, Joe. But like originally, the whole hack and slash thing was being made by Kojima Productions themselves. The problem is Kojima saw that this isn't working out. We need somebody else to take over, and that's why he brought in Platinum Games. That was the whole reason.
That's also the weird thing. I know for a fact that.
Let me just talk about it. Here's Raikov. There you go.
And there he goes.
So what you have to do is you have to tranquilize him, as we just did. I just need to quickly switch clothing but whatever. There's nobody here, so I'll not disguise myself for now. All right. So now we have to go on.
You know, it's a shame they don't let you disguise yourself as a doctor, because you could just pretend like you're getting this man some medical help and attention.
Yes, the prostate exam.
Okay. Yeah, somebody noticed something, but that's okay. I'm still out of sight, so that person won't find me. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to take him into this room so you can stuff him in one of the lockers.
Good old Metal Gear Solid 2 gameplay.
Snake? Now's not the time.
It's a case of dire urgency, Edwards. We need his disguise.
Yes, thank you for that.
He has a pair of Black Adam panties.
Oh, also, I'm going to show.
I noticed the.
No, I'm actually going to show it better in a moment too. So don't worry.
Yes, Nick especially is like, this is my life.
All right.
Can you imagine if years later someone who looks exactly like this guy is messing up with the endeavors of one of my associates?
Disguise yourself as Raikov and infiltrate the West Wing, where Sokolov is being held. Select Officer from Uniform on the camouflage screen to change into Raikov's uniform. However,
Okay.
that won't be enough to pass as Raikov. To really
You need a
become Raikov,
wig.
You'll need to make your face look like his as well.
Fortunately, for whatever reason that has yet to be explained to me, in my camouflage face masks, I have a Raikov mask that.
I forgot. Is it possible because you have a save file of the second game?
No, Theo. Like, it has nothing to do with the save games. The game just asks you if you've played MGS2. It doesn't detect save games.
I'm
me
trying
check,
to remember if there was a
The
reason
wiki
for that. Go
probably
ahead.
has something.
No, but this always happens to you. You need the player to have this mask, otherwise the game is unwinnable anyway. So you need the player to have this mask anyway.
I don't know if it actually you start the game entirely with it or not, but
There you go.
check.
So basically, notice, ooh, that poster looks very familiar. Interesting.
And then just because Pedro wanted to show off an Easter egg, it gets discovered.
That's okay. I'll just put him back in. There you go.
He'll be fine.
He'll be
It's nice and
fine.
comfy in there.
He's just sleeping. He'll be fine. There you go.
Also,
Your Raikov disguise has turned out nicely.
Snake needs to pull both his limbs to carry him. Bullshit. Agent 47 and he has to pull one.
Yeah, another advantage of Snake in the radio calls being his 3D model, it can transition also to him also looking like he does right now in these calls. So
From the real Raikov, you'll be able to get into the West
So,
Wing,
hey,
which only Volgin and Raikov have access. Head for the West Wing of the weapons lab.
I was just gonna say, most of the Russians in this game have "of" at the end of it. I know that's a common Russian thing, but that's not everyone. That's not in everyone's name in Russia, guys.
well, Volgan doesn't have that.
Infiltrate the West Wing
Yeah.
and rescue Sokolov.
It's like one out of how many?
Ocelot doesn't have that.
Okay.
Yeah, like, I mean, there are a fair share who don't.
But to be fair,
Granted,
Ocelot
we-
is his code name.
Yeah. Well, I can't say his real name just yet, but
Yeah,
so we'll
only
just.
the time.
Okay. Oh, I love this one.
Raikov's just that kind of guy.
Yeah, everybody loves Raikov in this place, basically. So basically,
Yeah, irony.
just listen to what she says.
To get to the entrance to the West Wing, pass west through the main wing of the weapons lab and go through the connecting passageway. You can get into the main wing of the weapons lab from the southwest side
Okay.
of the second floor. Head for the main wing.
Yeah, basically what this. Oh, and by the way, let's talk to paramedic.
Snake Eye. Huh? Hello there?
Paramedic is
How can you see what he looks like? We're speaking over radio.
For a minute there, I thought you were someone else.
why are you so nervous?
Shut up.
You've seen this mask before, right?
Yeah, but it looks.
Yeah, apparently it
so
was
cool.
designed by Sigint.
Cool.
Hold on.
You know, kind of like a Venusian.
A Venusian.
We kind
I
of
mean,
talked about
not
this,
the crab kind, the
Snake.
other kind.
Paramedic, do you really think a guy you've never seen before would suddenly call you on this frequency?
I know it
You
sounds
never
ridiculous,
know.
but still. What if it was a being from another planet? You can't rule out that possibility.
You're also one of those people who believe we're trapped in the Matrix for real, aren't you?
There you
I'm
go.
watching too many movies.
You just heard here first, folks. Paramedic is a Raiden fan. Go on, Dwebs.
Pedro, question. Are there guards in this game that are like the enforcers in the recent Hitman games, where they can notice, they can see through your disguise?
Not in. Well, okay. The Raiden disguise will work for now, but eventually later in the game it will stop working when the real Raikov wakes up. So if that counts, yes. If that doesn't count, then no.
No.
But yeah, no, as Tio did point out, apparently
Now that you're
Siggins
spitting
made
image
it.
of Raikov,
Yeah, apparently
no one will have
Demon Universe
cause to
explanation is
suspect
that it was made for a previous
someone
operation,
finds
but
Raikov
involved
hidden in the
Groznygrad and
locker,
just
your
happened to be
disguise will
stuck
become
in Snake's
useless.
inventory.
That happens.
Holy convenience, Batman.
Yeah.
Don't open the locker. Is that
Thy
clear?
name is Metal Gear.
All right. So
So
basically,
open the locker, right?
While
Cool.
in disguise,
basically, sure. What this translates. Yeah,
action
he's about to explain.
perform a salute. If you want, why don't you try saluting some of the soldiers and scientists?
Yeah.
That way you can build your bond with them.
Basically, sure. What this translates out to is, since everybody here loves Raikov, you can do anything to them. You can beat the crap out of them.
The fine work, sir. Keep up the
They're into it.
Such glorious life in the Soviet Union.
and he notices him take the sir.
Good. Do the salute.
Basically, as long as Raikov remains asleep and we are disguised as Raikov, we are completely untouchable. Nobody will dare even lay a finger on us.
Just don't talk.
Unless, well, actually, no, he's not even voiced by Quentin Flynn.
No.
Speaking of which, I wonder if in the remake they'll make Raikov be voiced by Quentin Flynn just to complete the joke.
I would really love that. If they could bring back Quentin Flynn to do that, I would definitely love that.
We noticed, however, that Raikov doesn't have too much of a presence and barely any much lines. So yeah, it would be a cool thing, but again, just
Keep in mind,
unless we had a couple of extra, lines or something.
Keep in mind, didn't Quentin Flynn hint at something Metal Gear that he might be participating in?
Has been doing for a while, but
well,
again,
that's
maybe
not so much that he was participating, more so something related to Rising. What happened was, my guess, Jova, what he already had not. Okay, remember, we're gonna get a Volume 2 of the Master Collection. My guess is we're going to get Rising in Volume 2, and he already knows it, but he's not allowed to say it. That's my guess.
He might know it since they probably have to pay him residuals for the performance still.
Mm-hmm.
Still, though, I mean, again, I wouldn't shake off the possibility that they're gonna get him in for at least just a cheeky voice role as Raikov. Like,
especially
okay, we know.
because there's an Easter egg that I think I noticed in the Robert Pedro is gonna show towards the end that does involve actually the genuine Raiden, but is not even voiced by Quinton Flynn for that occasion.
Now, okay, we do. According to what they said, they're getting back like all the voice casts. I assume they mean like the main characters, as opposed to like, oh, every little side character or mook. Because, I mean, if they can, all the more power to them. But I do feel like tiny bit characters like Raikov, they can afford to have like a different voice actor for.
Ooh la la.
Someone's got their priorities straight.
Tamika Laurel Rawson. Is that an actual person?
Let me check.
Again, same thing that we talked about in the
FBI contacts Jova about his browser.
Same thing we talked about in previous Metal Gear games. These fucking guards live a very boring and frustrating life. Okay, they need something to relieve their tension. Okay, cut them some slack.
Okay, so.
Sorry, I guess.
Oh dear, that was
unfortunate.
Ooh, a torture room.
Honestly, I find it funny that the camouflage is only at 15% when in reality, shouldn't it be like 100% for the sequence since technically you are untouchable
the percentage is still, remember, the percentage is about whether or not people can see you. Because people can see you, they just won't do anything to you.
Fair enough. But anyway, this Tamika Rawson, apparently she is an in-universe model who does risque pictures. We see her in also Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain.
Oh, there you go, Shiva. This is exactly the kind of detail you'd expect from a Kojima game. He creates a fictional model that barely shows up, that shows up only in posters, but there's still continuity regarding that thing, because, that's...
Like Chow in Space.
Which is weird, because...
It's like Splatoon fans. They all have lore.
Which is weird because
yes, that's a famous Metal Gear Solid realism, where you could just run through a character.
The weird thing is that, if I recall correctly, the Japanese model he used earlier actually was a real Japanese model, so I wonder why he decided with this one to make her an in-story one.
Just for the hell of it, why not?
Probably, yeah.
Well, I honestly, Dwebs, I'm more taken by Raikov's incredibly sus running cycle.
Is anyone going to talk about how he...
It's very strange.
Excuse me, sir, I have never seen you run like that before.
It's very Castlevania-ish. I wonder if it was done to resemble a bit the Belmont's trot.
Oh my god, that would explain just the weird way Naked Snake runs in these games. I really do legit wonder.
It's a good job it's not like in Mission Impossible 5, where the scanner can scan your movements as well as your face, and it can catch you if it notices it's off of what it's got in its biobanks.
Anyway, to continue what we were saying before, like he said, despite all the tumultuous stuff that happens and what also Platinum said when it came to Rising, back then the game was well received and everything, and it had its moment of share, like with people like Maximilian, for example. But then it just died off a bit. It only gained track a lot more recently thanks to Maxro's video about it. But otherwise, not many people were there to care. Not in a sense of being completely forgotten or outright,
A true.
It was just a thing that happened.
So what you're trying? So
it was a Platinum game.
Not just that. No, what you're saying, Theo, is yet another Metal Gear that it took quite a few years for people to properly appreciate it for the brilliant genius work of genius that it is, basically.
You know,
I'm not even kidding. I'm not because outside of Nier Automata, because well, it's Nier fucking Automata. I still regard Metal Gear Rising as Platinum Games' magnum opus. Like that, it's a nearly flawless action game that only they can make.
Slash, I agree with you. When it comes to instead properly, well, they didn't make that much. But Vanquish also to me is a good candidate when it comes to actually a shooter.
Oh sure, I'm sure it is.
Again, the game retains all the adrenaline that you can expect, and it almost never stops.
Platinum game doing a shooter.
I'm not particularly fond of the English dub of it. I prefer the one my country did, but like they try to make Gideon Emery sound like he has, rough lungs because the character in universe, which plays in universe, smokes a lot, so he's supposed to have a gruff voice. But to me, it doesn't work too much. Although the script is actually still fun.
To give you an idea.
Anyway, it feels like Raiden is kind of cursed with those types of games that, take a while to get caught up on, the reception.
Honestly, I can understand Sons of Liberty, but how can you not immediately appreciate the awesomeness of Metal Gear Rising? It makes no sense to me.
I can explain that one. Metal Gear Rising, for a lot of people, was the game that, to them, felt like the series was jumping the shark. Yes. Yeah. Even by Metal Gear Solid standards, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance is pretty extreme.
It's a spin-off, though. I mean, what did you expect?
Well, I mean, it's actually in continuity with the series, so, okay, let me put it like this. If it's a spin-off more so in the sense that, Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days is technically a spin-off, different gameplay, but still in the main continuity.
Oh yeah.
Again, think like Shadow the Hedgehog. Yes, it's a spin-off, but it's still in continuity, hence why a lot of people raised their eyebrows when Shadow the Hedgehog was doing its weird stuff here. Again, I love Rising. I'll admit, even I was a bit put off by how different and weird it was back in the day. I eventually came around on it myself, but I can get why people were a bit put off by how wild that game was.
There's also another factor. It was released pretty much at the tail end of the life cycle of the PS3 and Xbox 360. So people were starting to gear more instead to the next console generations as well.
I guess, but
I feel like had the game been released in say the start or the middle of a console generation, that would have definitely have done it more favors.
I guess. See, the thing is, the spin-offs that are canon with the mainline games is common for a lot of like you just mentioned Shadow the Hedgehog. Like I can mention another one. Sonic Advance 2 is the game where all the characters meet Cream for the first time, and in the other games they all talk about Cream as if they already know her. So we can only assume Sonic Advance 2 is canon to the mainline games, despite being technically a part of a spin-off series.
Okay, Sonic Advance 2 has never been clarified as a spin-off. Like, the thing with Sonic handheld games, yes, the Game Gear games, those aren't canon to the main timeline. But the other handheld games, those are actually canon to the main timeline.
Sure.
So, like, I mean, and also, okay, to specify, those aren't considered spin-offs, because They still center around Sonic and friends doing this or that, and they are, for the most part, for all intents and purposes, still mainline games. Shadow the Hedgehog is a spin-off that was canon as well, because that one is definitely different from the usual Sonic affair, and Sega classified it as such. Like, again, maybe Advance is a spin-off, but Sega have never given it that specification, where Shadow the Hedgehog or stuff like the storybook games, they made clear that those were spin-offs.
Basically, she wrote. Basically, she wrote to give you a basic idea. Remember the katana that Raiden got during the climax of Metal Gear Solid 2, and he used it to defeat Solidus at the end. In Metal Gear Rising literally starts with Raiden with a new cyborg ninja suit with his katana. Slot and the watermelons, yes. Sliding a Metal Gear Ray into while metal music plays in the background, and people somehow still found it in themselves to dislike this. I cannot even begin to understand this.
My take is that it is a cool scene, but again, for Metal Gear, it feels like just a little too over the top, especially also considering the story. Again, I have grown to like the story, but at the time, the story was doing things that were, by Metal Gear standards, very much out there. Like,
also, tone-wise, one may interpret it as fanficky. Remember already how people had a bit of a beef with the fact that Raiden defeated a bunch of Rays at the climax of MGS2, even though it had a kind of a purpose there. So having a Ray being the first boss in order to set up the scale of the conflict, having Raiden dispatch it relatively easy, again, it did not potentially help people starting to think, okay, they want to just have a laugh.
I feel like there's a way to do this and ease it in. Metal Gear Rising literally has a plot where the bad guys are so evil that they are using the brains of children. I am not even kidding. It's like, again, okay, look, I feel like the reason Rising, people are coming around to Rising is that, one, people have seen how bad it can get thanks to Metal Gear Survive, which had flipping zombies. So at this point, Rising is looking a lot more tame in comparison, but also because, again, with how the series has eventually seasoned over time, people have had time to look back at Rising and notice it's good.
Well, the big difference is that Metal Gear Rising is an actual good game. Survive could have at the very least still get its own redemption arc if it was an actual good game, but it isn't.
Oh yeah, no. Survive is gonna go down.
It's also worth noting that again, the console version was locked at 30 FPS, and it's definitely one of those platinum titles that is best enjoyed with a smoother frame rate. So that's also one of the more important reasons why it kind of needs something akin to what the PC version has.
Well, actually, I mean, I can't speak for the Xbox 360 version too, but I can tell that the PS3 version of Rising runs at 60 FPS. I mean, it's not like super 100% stable.
That I played.
Well, I guess.
Sure. What is probably one of the biggest reasons that people came around to Revengeance? By a YouTuber by the name of Maxor.
We already mentioned that.
Yeah, but I point him out because he might. Well, okay. One, he helped bring attention back to Rising. While Rising had a lot of people who scuffed at it, it also had the issue that not a lot of people were, for one reason or another, aware of it as much. I'm not entirely sure on why that was the case, but I do remember that, like Tio mentions, after that initial burst of people either loving it or loathing it, the stuff kind of went quiet on it, and a lot of people forgot about it.
Indeed.
But then suddenly it came back, and well, yeah, now there has definitely been a rise in demand for a sequel.
Question, Shiro, since I'm guessing you've seen the memes, are you familiar with Metal Gear Rising predicting yet another interesting historic development of the future?
No. Most of my knowledge for Rising comes from the soundtrack.
Okay. Well, Metal Gear. Let's just say, Shiro. You know how Metal Gear Solid 2 is known to talk about. We make the whole "this is a 2001 game" joke. Well, we're gonna be able to do this is a 2013 game joke when we get to Rising, because believe it or not, Rising also predicts an interesting development in American history that I'm still baffled by.
Actually, it's interesting because Kojima was at least when it comes to credits, Kojima was nowhere near the script.
No, he was the producer, and the writer was somebody else in Kojima Productions. So the writer
snuck into the writing room.
Maybe he went there. Hey, put in this line. I'm sure nothing will come about from this line. Then
I guess that was
fine.
I guess that was another reason people weren't too hot on it from the get-go. Like, it was a Metal Gear game being done story-wise without Kojima. Now, again, we see nowadays that can be done well. Arguably, we saw it done well in Babel before, but okay. Now, for a lot of people, a game without Kojima as the writer was gonna be a bit of a no-sell. Again, I don't agree with that, but I was there at the time. Like, I may not have been as big on Metal Gear, but one thing I did know was people would pretty much 100% associate the name Metal Gear with Kojima. A game being done without him could sometimes be seen as sacrilege.
It's the same. It's the same thing as we also have Francis Ford Coppola also puts his name in the Godfather movies, where so to the point where now nobody can really think, ooh la la, Shoko Amada. Okay.
A lot of modeling girls. Let me see if this one's real too.
All right, we're gonna get a cutscene now, if I remember correctly. Oh no, yeah, but it's in a moment though.
Okay, Shoko Hamada is actually, well, let's see, a television personality. She is a Japanese Taranto, grabber idol, and a race queen. She also has worked for a professional wrestling promotion, Hustle.
I'm wondering if this is also part of the copyright stuff that they have to edit out.
That might actually be the copyright stuff, like, well, the actual real life people.
Hopefully it's just that, because I really want, I really want the live action cutscenes to stay there.
Again, like I said,
don't forget
they gotta
that
have
a lot of these assets, were, as you can see, are still low poly, and as such, instead have to be rescanned, retextured, or remade photos as well.
God forbid they lost these assets like a lot of Japanese devs seem to do with stuff.
Or maybe we're just having low poly. Like, again, it's possible.
Well, in the case of 2 and 3, I'm sure they do. Otherwise, Bluepoint would never have been able to make their remasters to begin with.
Compared to instead poor fucking Silent Hill.
What about the Philosopher's Legacy?
I don't know anything about that. What are you? Are you trying to kill me?
What's the matter?
Probably.
Poor Sokolov can't catch a break.
Remember, the man pissed his pants when Assault was playing Russian roulette triple threat with him.
Oh, it's just lipstick. It's just lipstick, you baby.
Well, maybe it's poisonous lipstick.
It's a knife.
Maybe it's poisonous lipstick. Come on, maybe it's like poison ivy.
It's some totally spies nonsense.
That would justify the weird fetish fuel.
Alright then.
Moving on.
Who's there?
Hi.
You're the man from the CIA. What are you doing here? I told you before, didn't I? I'm going to get you out of here.
Bang up job you did.
Man of honor, just
Kept
like
him a
your
bit
commander.
waiting, didn't you?
But I'm afraid you're too late. Too late? Don't tell me. The Shagohods.
Practically complete.
Fully active.
The final preparations for Phase 2 are complete. So
Next will come Phase 3 of the Infinity Saga.
to put it in technical terms, it's a composite range extension system for medium-range ballistic missiles.
Great, more DACA.
Well, it's more like firing heavy artillery than anything.
So it is, the Shagohod.
Nuclear missiles from any type of terrain.
It looks like a giant version of Batman's Tumblr.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Reels at the point.
Today
Clearly, Metal Gear was a work in progress.
Well, remember, technically, Jova, this is not the prototype Metal Gear. The prototype Metal Gear.
Metal Gear was a step in the better direction.
Yeah, like the guy who Volgan recently killed that we talked to, he's the one who actually made a prototype Metal Gear that was refused, that was rejected over this thing. So Big Boss independently, by destroying this thing at the end of this game, enabled the creation of Metal Gear proper. So interesting.
Well, the Russian scientist guy had a partner.
Yep.
Who may hold out his legacy.
I'm sure that's not important.
Oh no, I'm sure it isn't.
Of course not.
And apparently those drills.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a point. I mean, we don't have a Metal Gear boss battle, but we have a Shagahad boss battle, so it works. It works for the same.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, it looks like a prototype Metal Gear before they,
There you
thought,
go.
hey,
This
let's make them...
There you go. By acting this specific manner, they actually can fire a missile, at long range, despite not having potential propulsion.
By having it take a running start and essentially being a Formula Race dragster
I get
tank.
the idea of more traditional railguns, like the one the Germans use, probably would have been more effective, but that's just me.
Again, I think we can see why it was Metal Gears that got mass-produced and not the Shagahad.
The bipedal design is a step in
Not
the
to
right direction.
not to mention too, I'm pretty sure they're operating on the same logic that Tony Stark was operating on the first Iron Man movie. Peace is about having a bigger stick than the other guy's stick. So.
But anyway, like I said, I always knew this as like a precursor to Metal Gears because look, it's got the launcher and everything. It's got a similar body structure to the Metal Gear, aside from the legs, obviously. It was like a Metal Gear but on wheels.
Okay, so they haven't mass-produced it yet. There's still only one, so we're still in time. We just need to destroy one for now.
We need to stop them from mass-producing it. Can you imagine how silly it will look with an army of these all racing down the line just to fire a missile or two?
Not to mention the waste of fuel.
Shoot, man, this might have lost the Soviet Union the Cold War even quicker. Granted,
I'm starting to realize why the Soviet Union was unsustainable.
Oh yeah, multiple reasons, and boy, this game sure feels like it did its research. This definitely feels like how the Soviet Union would have tried to
the turrets.
Yeah.
Yep. This is actually a theme. For now, this is just briefly mentioned, but Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker is going to have the nuclear deterrence as one of its primary political themes. So
to know more, buy a PSP.
well, technically, Dibs, Peace Walker is HD, is part of the backwards compatibility program. So if you have an Xbox console, you can play it there.
And
problem is,
get like a proper.
And unlike 2 and 3, Peace Walker has not been delisted, so it can still be purchased even on the digital front. So.
I was about to say, didn't Peace Walker get like a proper port to cut HD console?
Yes, it was part of the HD collection. Yes, the 2011 HD collection.
I think the only version in which it wasn't included was the PS Vita version, I think.
Yeah, the PS Vita version only had 2 and 3. Yes.
For some reason.
I remember the confusion back in the day. People were wondering, wait, Peace Walker,
also,
is it...
Sokolov just told us also what the weak point is. That's also important.
We left to blow the entire hangar to smithereens.
C3? You mean that cutting-edge plastic explosive?
Yeah, remember, this was before the invention of C4, so, yeah.
The bomb of the future.
Where can I get it?
There was some in the armory here, but it's gone now. It was stolen by a female spy who was here a minute ago.
Oh, I think we're gonna be fine.
That's not her name. Her name is Tatiana. She made her way in here by becoming Volkin's lover.
I thought she was your lover.
Mine? Oh no, she is Volkin's lover.
dun dun dun.
Again, I love how Eva has basically every one of these guys in the palm of her hand. Like neither of them know what exactly is her deal entirely.
And yeah, Sokolov also is a family wants to return to.
Oh wait, that's right. I used the wrong one. Secret. Different lover plot twist. It should be this. Doom 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 doom.
Before the virtuous mission, then.
Huh.
You know what's interesting? Sure, a lot of people have been making this joke. The virtuous mission, of course, is the first mission we did in the beginning of this game. The studio that's handling the development of the remake, Shiroi, is Virtuous Studios. So interesting coincidence there.
Huh. A scientist who regrets his creation and begs us to destroy it. Never seen this before.
It's a story as old as time. The scientist who regrets creating something that is used for evil.
Like we said also, it parallel to real-life history that was happening around the time, a lot of the reasons why the Soviets managed to acquire, nuclear testing was because a lot of the people working on the Manhattan Project felt guilty and defected to the Soviet Union.
I think it's a scientist's rite of passage to make something that's a little bit fucked up.
Yes, I once thought of that.
Well, come to the UK then.
Waiting for me there. But even if I fled to the United States, I would once again find myself creating weapons of mass murder.
No, we
doesn't matter.
Okay.
I love how you couldn't even finish that sentence.
No, but this was, I think if I recall correctly, it was roughly around the time Nixon and later on Reagan were about to show up. Yeah.
Oh god.
If anything, they would have asked Sokolov to make the fucking Star Wars program.
Okay. The Star Wars thing was all Reagan stuff, not Nixon's.
But I mentioned both.
They are merely the tools of politicians.
Ain't that the truth?
In this reality, the sad thing is that in this reality, Reagan might have actually been onto something with the Star Wars program.
So yeah, all he wanted to do was build space rockets. Yeah.
Hey, didn't we heard this story somewhere before?
Yeah, it's stuff like that. Basically, sure, it seems like these that people are according to Konami, they removed the 2 and 3 from the digital stormfronts in recent years. So a lot of people are wondering if these are going to be edited out.
Again, I feel like if they're going to edit them out, then they got to replace them with something.
Equivalent to the.
This is very crucial dialogue.
It's also worth noting again that these footage that we see is still compressed because it was, filmed at that kind of way for that kind of console generation. So again, if they
fuck. Okay, Shirai. Now here's the interesting thing, by the way. Volgin we're about to learn a whole new side of Volgin that we wouldn't expect.
What are you doing here? I've been waiting for you in my room.
Yeah, if you're doesn't have the voice.
Me?
Turns out
I remember that scene from Metal Gear Solid 2.
There you go. Turns out Tatiana was not the only person Volgin has been quote-unquote messing around with, if you know what I mean.
You're supposed to shake people's hands, not their...
No. Shiroi.
A Russian greeting.
Not just that, Shiroi. Remember, these two are apparently, in with each other, so maybe this is a thing they do with each other, I guess. Well, each couple has their own, thing, so...
Yes.
Again, it's a bit of a side effect that was still common around this... I'll mention later.
Ha! You're not Raikov, I reckon. Oh, jeez.
Also, Volgin is pragmatic because instead of just shooting randomly, someone actually points at the legs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, crap.
No. Of all the time.
The scary thing is that when you think about it, the way Volgin could tell that wasn't Raikov was just because he's recognized how Raikov's crotch actually feels.
And also the reaction drove.
Oh god.
And then you lose sight of who you really are.
out of this.
Dang.
This also serves to show the fact that the boss is working with Volgin, but she's really the one who, you know, handles this stuff. She could just beat him up if she wants.
Who's the boss? She's the boss.
No, it's called CQC, a basic form of close quarters combat. He and I developed it together.
So yeah, one thing to note, Volgin, despite his powers, is not an expert on close quarters combat.
He's not invincible. Unfortunately, yeah.
But first, I will make him pay for hurting Ivan.
Yeah, Volgan didn't take very well that we beat the crap out of Volgan and let him unconscious. Sorry, of Raikov, sorry. Misspoke there.
Yeah.
Because, yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it would seem he legit loves Raikov.
Again, it's unfortunately... oh, hi, Ocelot.
I'm just here.
We really, really don't have time for your bullshit right now.
I'll come back later. It's fine.
Yeah, the daddies are fighting. Come on.
I feel like I should do something, but maybe not.
You need to rescue Senpai.
Metal Gear Solid 3. How Ocelot met Snake. I'll have what he's having, maybe? I don't know.
Please
Well,
tell me this
fuck.
isn't how your actual sessions with Raikov go.
So yeah, this was before. You know what's interesting, Dibs? This was before Casino. Okay, question, Dibs. In the original Casino Royale, is there also a torture scene in there, or was that entirely of the 2006 version?
I haven't read the book, but I understand there is a torture scene of sorts.
Okay.
All I know is that in the 1950s TV adaptation, there's not really a torture scene so much as they just put Bond in a bathtub and threaten to break his fingers.
Okay. Well, I guess that can kind of count as one.
Is not that what happens in the Hitman movie, Dwebs?
What?
The Hitman movie?
Putting in a bathtub and breaking the fingers?
No, they put him in a bathtub with electricity around him and a rubber ducky.
Okay, then.
So yeah, Snake has... Snake!
Don't worry, he will survive this, but
We
let's
can't
just say
create
that
a time paradox.
let's just say that things are complicated.
Alright.
So again,
You might remember, Shiroi, how Big Boss looked in Metal Gear 2. He had an eye patch. In next part, we're gonna find out exactly how he lost that eye. So, see you then, everybody.
I scratched it.
Sure.
we're not doing that, Dwebs.
Good kitty. Good.
See you, everybody.
See ya.